Hey, it's Caniac. There's a guy on EDM Prediction bullshitting you guys. Basically, you can divide up the work between the two limiters, allowing each one to work less hard. This is absolute total horseshit, and I can prove it. How do I prove it? Well, I made this little setup in Patcher. So we got a serum here on a sine wave, and I'm sending it one note. There's the note. You can see it's playing. Then I'm duplicating the signal. So I'm sending the signal to limiter 1, from limiter 1 to limiter 2. And then it goes into the stereo shaper, which is changing the polarity. And then in our second parallel chain, we just have one limiter. Now, as you can see, limiter 1 is doing a little bit of work, limiting the signal a little bit. Then it gets sent to limiter 2, which is also doing a little bit of work, limiting the signal even further. And then in the parallel chain, we just have one limiter, which is doing more work. You see how much of the signal is limited here? That's more work. But we don't hear anything. And why don't we hear anything? We don't even see anything in the frequoscope, except for like these little bleeps here. Whenever, I don't know what these little, but those show up. But anyway, this signal here and that signal here is 100% identical, except for these little bleeps. And if that was not the case, we would hear something, because if you play the exact same wave twice and you change the phase 90 degrees, you get wave cancellation. So that's a way of testing if two signals are identical. You invert the polarity of one signal, which I'm doing here in the fruity shaper. Oh, this is so annoying when you open, I should really change that. When you don't use control to open one of the, then all the other ones disappear. So as soon as I start making a little change here, then you'll hear a tone, because then the signals are no longer identical. And yeah, let's see, there's probably still. Anyway, so this notion that you could do something different by using two limiters and can make a different sound than if you're using one limiter in the digital world is absolutely, that's just bullshit. And besides, if you're using two plugins instead of one, you have a little more CPU power. I mean, like, it's not going to be noticeable, but still, like, there would be absolutely zero reason for somebody. And I mean, I'm not talking about using multiple, using a limiter on each channel, right? I mean, that's perfectly normal, right? That you use a limiter on a channel, but that you use like a limiter on 4, on 5, on 6, on 7, on as many as you want. But to have two limiters on the master channel, there's absolutely never going to be a reason for doing that. I mean, even if you throw in effects in between the limiting, there still wouldn't be a reason. A limiter is just automated volume control so that something stays under a certain threshold. You can play a little bit the attack, relay, and sustain. It's a very simple concept, and anyway, this stuff really upsets me. What was the analogy here? Same amount of limiting, but each limiter is doing less work. Think of it of attempting to lift a heavy object. Come on, man. Just because you're making an analogy doesn't make it true, Anyway, Caniac out.